We are recording. All right. Hello, Alyssa.
Hello, Ryan.
Well, we wanted to film this video because we have been working on a project these last few months. And Alyssa, what is that project that we've been working on?
It's called Drive to Thrive. Well, we're trying to address a lot of questions, I think, a lot of problems that we've seen as coaches independently in more of a community-based approach where we're basically having the opportunity to help more than one person at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're both super excited about this project. I initially started this doing the first cohort of people, the first round of people by myself. And it's a lot. It's hard. It's hard to do things by yourself. And I was fortunate enough I've known Alyssa through Missy, and we got to talking, and she is very much, we're very much aligned in what we do and how we help people. So we talked and we said, hey, we should do this together. So I'm so excited to have you us working alongside of each other. And our goal in this webinar, this presentation, is just to really talk about some of the problems that are going on that we see on a regular basis with our clients, our friends, people, and even us, right? Some of the things that we've gone through, mostly some of the things that we've gone through, that we've found ways to solve and work around, and strategies that have been extremely helpful in our situation. And, for me as a coach I just want to help people kind of have a shorter path to feeling really healthy, feeling really good, and confident and happy. Ultimately, it's about happiness, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, Alyssa, since this is kind of going to go out to the world, maybe you want to give just a little background about yourself, and why you do what you do and how you do what you do. And then we'll get into some of the questions that we help people solve.
Cool. Okay. So, like Ryan mentioned, we've kind of connected through Missy, and, very fortunate at how kind of paths cross in life, and you meet someone that's doing group coaching and you're like, ooh, what are you doing? How are you helping more people? And what have you ironed out? What have you learned? And I think for myself, I've had multiple conversations one-on-one with clients that, I started to notice that there's patterns, right? There's a lot of people struggling with similar things. There's a lot of people that wish they had other people to talk to. There's other people that, just feel oftentimes that they're very alone in their own fitness journeys. And I think that's why I've always been very attracted to how can this work in a larger setting? How can we help more people with the amount of time that we have in a day? So, I do work as a wellness coach. I think my messaging as a coach has grown from just helping people move better to how can you move better so you live a more confident, fulfilled life. And like Ryan had mentioned, at the end of the day, we just want our clients to leave feeling better about themselves, more in alignment with what they value, and more certain at just that, you're great as you are. And I think it's something that's so nice to have someone alongside you working with people with the same message, and again, just helping more people at once.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, when we see people or we talk to people, and even ourselves, right? You mentioned, it's more than just the exercise and whatnot, but initially we see a lot of folks because there's an aesthetic goal maybe that wants to be achieved. There's a physical goal of performance that wants to be achieved. And that's a great way entry point into things, but it's not about that. It's not just about that, right? There's so much more to being healthy, to feeling good, to being happy than just losing some weight, right?
Right.
Performing a little bit better. Sure, we want to perform a little better, lose some weight. Those are the byproducts of really getting down in the nitty gritty of more than just the outside appearance, right?
Right.
And we talk about that in program about aligning your mindset to what's going on in your life and what you value and what you need and what you want, and how you can approach some of those health goals in a much more streamlined fashion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So cool.
Cool.
How did just a kind of quick backstory, but like, how did you get into, where did kind of things change for you in terms of just getting people to move better into
Yeah.
then kind of diving deeper, so to speak?
Yeah. And I think, you had brought up a great response of a lot of what drives our passion are things that we probably met in our own, history of exercise and working out and identifying our values or identifying what makes us happy. And for myself, I was heavily driven to compete in like figure competitions. And, I was at my fittest and leanest, yet I was extremely unhappy. And I was like, there's something wrong with this equation. I should be happy. And so when I started to just do a lot more self-reflection and essentially debunking a lot of the beliefs I had around being lean automatically makes you happy. I had to really kind of reflect on, well, what does make me happy? And what does happiness mean to me? How does fitness and exercise actually fit into the life that I want to live and fit into the person that I want to be? And so, my journey of achieving what is portrayed and marketed as you should be happy at this physique or this shape, I was like, well, I'm extremely unhappy. So what went wrong? And, it was hard. It was a very hard process to go through and figuring out, okay, like, where do I go from here? Like, who am I as a person? What matters to me? And how do I want, certain relationships in my life to thrive in a way that, again, I can still achieve certain other goals in my life too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And you bring up a great point too, is when you said, how does fitness and this stuff fitting into my life versus the other way around, right? How often do we go, oh, I need to fit myself into a program, and I need to do this program, I need to do that program. But we never really stop and ask, like, how is this going to fit into my life to make me better and ultimately get the results that I want to see? It's like fitting a square peg into a round hole. Like, that's never going to work. And we're such individual people. We need to take a more individualized approach to ourselves, our body, our health, our mind, all those things in order to get the good result. So cool. Just a tiny bit about me is the big thing for me is that I found myself running a gym, and I was probably the most unhealthy that I've ever been, because I wasn't putting me first. I wasn't sleeping right. I was not feeling myself the way I was supposed to. I was holding things in terms of my communication, and that just led to some destructive behaviors. I was inflamed. I wasn't taking myself care of myself appropriately, and that really just went down a road of not feeling good at all. It just my relationship suffered, my business suffered, my health, my physical health suffered, and it was time to make some changes. And I went through a lot of mistakes and try to overcome those. And ultimately, I found a lot of great strategies that worked for me. And as I start to talk to other people too that are having similar issues, it's not to say that my strategies are the strategies that are going to work for you, but they are strategies that you can try on and see if they work for you as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we have some problems that we're trying to help folks solve in our Drive to Thrive online training program. And we dive into 4 main areas of health.
Mm-hmm.
What are those 4 main areas of health?
So we're talking about mindset.
Yeah, we're talking about mindset.
We're talking about the way we eat, how we fuel our body, how we move and how we exercise, as well as methods of recovery.
Yeah. Yep. And so we dive into those areas, trying to give folks a lot more tools in their toolbox that they can apply to different situations, that they can try on for themselves, to see, well, what's the best approach for us in any given scenario, because our lives are ever evolving, ever changing from day to day. But there's a few questions that kind of come up, a few problems that we see as coaches that tend to be reoccurring. And one of those was that you had mentioned it, that kind of the feeling of feeling alone, right? That feeling of feeling alone.
That feeling of feeling alone.
Yeah. That alone feeling. And you want to expand on that just a little bit?
Yeah, I think like I had mentioned earlier, you know, more often than not, I'm interacting with clients who are kind of shocked when I tell them like, you know, that this is normal and you know that you're probably not the only one that thinks this way or is struggling with this. And it just amazes me, but I shouldn't be amazed because I felt like that as well. But that oftentimes people feel like they're in this alone, you know, that, you know, what's wrong with me, that thought process. Like, why didn't this diet work for me? Why didn't this work for me? And they just constantly get wrapped up in this thought process of, you know, I can't do this. I won't be ever be successful. I'll keep failing. And, you know, that again, that mindset is not going to be conducive to being successful or even happy in the long run. So that question of like, do you often feel alone? I think it's pretty applicable to a lot of people. They attempt different diets and they see people, they see people. Mark just crawled by.
Mark, you can be in this if you want to. Just come.
Okay, bye. Um, gosh, what was I talking about? But let's see.
That feeling, the when you're feeling alone and trying different diets on and things aren't working, and
Yeah, it's, you know, we like Ryan and I always talk about like we really want to empower people to not feel like they're the victim of situations or that something's wrong with you, but to give you the power for you to be like, that probably didn't work because of X, Y, and Z. And you can start problem solving why this diet may not fit into the context of your life, may not fit into the context of what you value. Um, and just offer reassurance, offer community, offer other methods of support. And like Brian had mentioned, tools to help you better problem solve these areas where you may often feel like unsupported or alone. Yeah.
yeah. And when you kind of break those things down, it's really, well, I just don't know what to do, or there's just a lack of education of knowing or tools in your toolbox of how to
Mm-hmm.
approach something, not having an individualized approach. And some of those programs out there work for people because it's a great approach for them. You know, the one size fits all
Right.
program might work for them, but more often than not, there's parts of these programs, or there's parts of these strategies that don't work and that don't fit. And how do we um, take that program, or take whatever program you're in, and provide individualized solutions? How do we provide strategies and tools that you can have in your toolbox, um, for any scenario that you need to apply them to, right?
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, interesting, Mark and I were just talking about like strategies are one thing. It's empowering the client to then critically think about it on their own. Like
Yes.
it's not the strategy that helped you be successful. It's not the tool. It's how you learned how to implement it at what time, during what stage in your life. Because like you had mentioned earlier, we're going to go through so many transitions in our lives, right? Like you're going to get married soon, probably have some kids, and then you're going to have to re-implement these strategies in different ways in different phases in your life, and then problem solve like, this one may not work anymore, but now I
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm more familiar with who I am as a person, so I can navigate around it in this fashion or in this way. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. We've talked about this multiple times, but the ability to critically think is, I love that concept, because we critically think in our job, you know, we critically think for our family, but are we really critically thinking for our own health and well-being?
mm-hmm.
And again, see oftentimes is no, we're not doing that. And I love the phrase, you've heard this before, if all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're talking about your skill sets, or programs that you've been to, or stages in your life, and that's all you know, then all you're going to do is that, but it might not work for that situation,
Right,
and
right,
and yield the best results for you
right.
at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in the program, we're talking about just really leveling up people's game in this area of critically thinking, uh, empowering people, like you said, helping people feel more confident in their everyday life to apply these solutions and get them results.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on.
Right on.
Another question that popped up was, or the issue that arises, the problem is starting a program and then not finishing something, or stopping short of the end game. And that happens all the time. Is we love to start things. We love to start a strategy. We love to start a program. We love to start a course, a routine, and then we stop short of any goals, any results that we're trying to seek. And this happens a lot. It's almost like the shiny object syndrome, right? Where, oh, what's that over there? I'm going to go over there.
Yeah.
And I think we're all at fault for this at times in our life. We all do it. But how do you know if something's working if you don't actually see it through to the end? And there's a lot of reasons for why people don't see it through. And we kind of pulled some more people on this, but there was like boredom.
Yeah.
Right. It has to, whatever you're doing, it has to gain your attention and create a little bit of excitement for you. And if you're bored, then it's like, okay, I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the reasons why, not a lot, I shouldn't say a lot of the reasons why, but I think one of the best things a coach can do for their clients is, hey, let me keep you curious and let me keep you engaged in this entire process. When you come in, we're going to assess your body. We're going to assess your body mechanics. Let's talk about life, and let's figure out like how we can better understand how you can better implement these tools, or how you can better carry out your day to manage different stressors. And I love it when clients are so engaged and they're so curious and they're always asking me questions and they're asking themselves questions, because it just, again, they're starting to really think about their body. They're starting to think about their life, and they're really putting themselves again now first and able to kind of, again, like when we talk about like just problem solve different areas and junctures that they meet, and not feeling stuck and feeling confident with failure, feeling confident with making mistakes, and knowing that that's just going to be a part of the program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's that delicate balance, right, of something being simple enough that you'll be able to accomplish, right? Having the confidence to do it, the competence, feeling competent in what you're doing, but also not being too complex where you just lose off and you're like, I can't do this. You get overwhelmed and then confidence drops and not being able to accomplish it, but then having enough with it that you keep the curiosity up. And that's what we try to do, right? Is provide information where, yeah, you know what, I can do that. And that sounds reasonable enough for me to accomplish, but it's also interesting enough that you're going to keep wanting to learn more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best parts of our jobs too, right? There's so many certifications. There's so many different ways to look at nutrition. There's so many ways to listen to your client that, I mean, we're always being pushed to learn more. And imagine if we can transfer that method or that approach to change in the fitness world, or physical change, emotional change, things like that, to a client where they're just constantly learning something new every day. And we hope to definitely address that component of, hey, let's read this, let's watch this video, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, tapping into that curiosity. Like, I love that about our job. It's like, there's always something new to read,
Yeah. And I just got to tell you, since Alyssa and I started working together, I've learned so much as a coach, because her approaches might be slightly different to something, or the lens that she sees something is different than mine. And you can even say that because male and female, right? Like we navigate the world in a different way. Mm-hmm. So as we're talking, I'm going, I never thought about it like that. And so that makes me a better coach.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Like, you nailed it. Can our students take on that approach of a constant beginner mindset and be open to learning those new things, so that they can go, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't think of it that way. Or maybe I didn't approach it through that lens, and being able to go, yeah, you know what? I can learn something at all times. And that's what it's about, right? Because we have a certain amount of time on this planet. Are we taking on that growth mindset?
Yeah.
Of being able to absorb and retain new information and apply it in different ways. So that's pretty cool. A couple other reasons that we had noticed, if you ever start a program, find yourself stopping, but lack of accountability, not being held accountable to what it is that you want to accomplish. So it's much easier to go, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Nobody's there.
Yeah.
Nobody's there. And I think that's partly having a good, support system and community, right? There's a lot of different areas that we cover in the program, as far as your environment's concerned, of how we can start shaping our environment and our community to work for us and help us stay accountable.
Yeah, definitely. I think accountability is something that's underrated. I mean, I can't tell you how many times like I've been held accountable for multiple things, like making sure I'm going to bed at an earlier hour, shutting off my phone at a certain time, decompressing better, and managing stress, and all these things are just reinforced by the people of my life that not only, I think for myself, it's more of like that self-care time. It's like, how do I keep myself accountable if I'm in my own habits of like always doing more for work or business, and oh, hello, I should probably take a nap, and I can have someone be like, oh, maybe rest today. And you're like, you're right. And it's to navigate the world on your own. You're just making it so much harder on yourself. And imagine if you had even just one other person that you can bounce ideas off of, that just reminds you like, hey, you're human, take a day off, or hey, take a nap. It makes it so much easier.
That was one of the biggest takeaways for one of the students in last
Awesome.
round, was that idea of recovery. And coming in, it's going, yeah, I feel fresh. I sleep a lot. I recovered. But then we posed the question one day was, how you feeling? I worked out this day, and this day. And why don't you take today off? Bing, light bulb. And that was the cascade effect for them, where ultimately the goal is fat loss, but it was seeing in different areas, like, where can I level up? And then recovery was one of the biggest areas for her. And as soon as she started paying attention more to that, energy goes up, sleep goes up, recovery goes up. And, once hitting a plateau, you start cascading those results again, and not even realizing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's interesting too, because I think recovery is often the most underutilized aspect of a program, alongside mindset, I would say. And you and I have talked a lot about like, how can we get someone to see something from a different lens and gain a different perspective around things. But, we're always, especially I'm in the Bay Area. So especially in this area, it's like, okay, I need to work on average 10 to 12 hours. I'm going to sleep for maybe 4. And then I'm going to try to go to the gym on top of that, and then take care of my kids. And it's like, okay, well, where does sleep and recovery play a role in your happiness, in your wellness? And it's a huge contributor to all those things. Yet, we aren't knowledgeable enough on it just yet. And, obviously the program, we're trying to address some other methods of how you can actively recover, whether or not it's addressing mobility and getting your body to move better, so you're managing less stress. How can we get you to fuel your body in a way that's compassionate, kind, but also balanced and helpful for, energy and stress and all of those things. But recovery is so important, yet it's not necessarily widely discussed. So again, we hope to kind of talk about that.
How can we just get you to shut your phone off 30 minutes before you usually do? And, we live in that constant state of stimulation, right? Mm-hmm. We're stimulated before we go to bed by the phone or the TV or the computer. We're stimulated all day at work. We're stimulated on the way home. We're always on, but we never shut off.
Right. And how do you expect yourself to be successful if you're always overstimulated, over stress, looking at screens? Yeah. It's interesting. I actually had texted Missy a few months ago about like, what is your routine in the morning? Because I was trying to gain information about like, what do people do, and how do they manage their on-screen time? And I think you and her have probably one of the best methods of your wake up, your first hour in a new day. And it's so great, like gratitude recollections, making sure you guys eat and enjoy some quality time together before you're on your screens. And I think I often get wrapped up in, I got to check email, I got to do this. And it was so refreshing to read something like that you can do it, it's just have the accountability, have someone there to support you, and then just create a new habit around it. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll naturally see yourself entering a day more refreshed, more present, more happy,
Yeah, yeah. We have a little rule at our house called phone and food. You can't have screens or anything when we're having food. So it just forces us to have conversation, connect, and
Yes.
just those little moments, make a big deal in our day. And those little moments add up over the course of your day. Um, yeah, sometimes, we make sure we shut our phones off at night, or at least put it on airplane mode because we do use them for an alarm. But you're just making sure that you're not getting up right away and checking, like at least say hi to your spouse the next day or something.
Right.
Yeah, all those little tools and tricks we go over in the program and how to do that. But yeah, so just we're trying to help folks as much as possible, just with these common problems every day, and addressing these issues as a more individualized approach for it. Um, our next program kicks off January 1st, 2018. And we're going to be doing these little videos leading up to them, just to kind of talk a little bit about some of the common issues going on, how we solve that. And we would love to have any of you guys out there ask us questions, reach out to Alyssa, reach out to me, join in the program when we launch it January 1st, and level up your game here, right?
Right.
Anything you want to add, Alyssa?
I don't think so. I think
Cool.
I'm just excited to see where this all goes.
Yay. All right, awesome. Well, thanks for talking today. I look forward to speaking with you, I think next week. And we're going to have some supporting material. We dove into a lot today, just a couple of questions, but a lot of information here. So we'll have some supporting information for you guys. Check us out, D2Thrive.com. And hopefully we'll have you guys in for our next program.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.